All right, Canucks fans. So you're thinking about this season, and not a lot of people picking Canucks to go to the playoffs. But you might be wondering, who are the players to watch this season? Who's hopeful? Who's going to be a bust? What should you be paying attention to this season in terms of individual players and their performances? Eric, why don't you tell us about a player that you're excited to watch this season?
Number 40, Elias Pettersson. He's the next Brock Besser-like player to save this team, in my opinion. I mean, he's not like Besser in the way he plays, but the skill level is just it's incredible. He's a really small player. He even looks like the equipment's too big for him. Just the way he moves the puck around, he's got a great shot. He can make plays out of nothing. Just undresses defenders, and he's got 4 points in 2 games now. Tiny guy, but watch out for number 40. Though the whole world's gonna know number 40 from the
Yeah.
Canucks.
Well, he got so much attention from the media because he won basically every trophy available in Sweden last year. He broke Peter Forsberg's record for a Swedish player. He won the Swedish Player of the Year at 18, including all of the men's leagues, like not just in the junior. He was like the best. He was playoff MVP. Do you see where he got spray painted all in gold because he won like the MVP of the playoffs?
Yeah, I saw that.
And,
That was weird.
so I mean, he's really highly touted. To me, the thing that's really interesting about him is his defensive game. I knew he had this high end elite offensive skill, but his defensive play, he hustles, he back checks, he picks people's pockets and like steals the puck away and comes back. He's really creative. As you say, he's small in stature. I mean, he's tall. He's like 6'2" or 6'3". I notice he does have like a decent sized shoulders, but then he is pretty lanky. But he's one of these very agile skaters who's hard to hit.
Pesky.
Yeah. It's really like kind of like a Gretzky. Like they always tried to just clobber him, but
Right, right.
he would always manage to kind of get out of the way. So his creativity is the thing that blows me away because creativity at this of today's game to be able to make little passes and shots is a real skill, and Pedersen is definitely an elite talent.
It's funny to compare anybody to Gretzky, but yeah, it kind of just looks like Gretzky a little bit out there, you know? Like, I don't mean like in the face, but I mean, yeah, he's small and lanky and he's hard to hit. And it's interesting and like his offensive skill. So it's funny. We're not saying this is gonna be the next Wayne Gretzky.
You heard it here, Pedersen, the next Wayne Gretzky.
But anyway, that's definitely the first person that comes to mind.
And I will say that I honestly think he is going to be an elite player. I think even watching him just a bit, even compared to Besser, this guy is a special talent, and I think he's going to be one of the top players in the league. And I'm not exaggerating. That is as a somewhat cynical Canucks fan. I am shocked at how good of a player we have in Pedersen. So, and another thing he does is the way he holds the stick. He holds his hands very high up on the stick. So it's I've heard interviews with goalies. It's really hard for them to tell if he's going to pass or shoot. But he has he's choked up so high on the stick, he's able to release really quickly, and he's got that small frame, so he's able to make these really tight, accurate movements that give him an advantage. Keep your eye out for him and watch those highlights. They're a thing of beauty.
You probably remember number 6, Brock Besser last year. He was one of the favorites to win Rookie of the Year, overpassed by Clayton Keller in the end.
Keller was also nominated, but Barzal won.
Barzal won it.
Islanders.
But the interesting thing about Brock Besser is not only that there's always a threat of a sophomore slump, the dreaded sophomore slump. Sometimes they get discouraged after they don't have a great start the next year, and there's kind of like this pressure and expectation on a young player to do as well as they did the first year, and so there's always that. But also, he had a pretty serious injury at the end of the year last year, And did he break his back?
He did. He broke a bone in his back. He was checked, and they were opening the door to the benches, and he fell into that opening in the door, and yeah, he broke his back.
Stopped
And he
dead
had
in
to
his
have
tracks.
surgery. He had back surgery, so he's been going through a long recovery. And he was worried at first. I saw an interview with him where he said he was worried his career might be over. Like it was a serious injury, so he's looked a little slow to start this season. And yeah, there's the sophomore slump, right? The other part of it, teams scout you so much more in your second season. If you come in at first, they don't have all this videotape on you, right? By now, every single team that watches the Canucks, they'll have some trainer on staff who'll have like a 15-minute video of Brock Besser. Here's where he likes to go on the ice. Here's the kind of passes. Here's how he moves on the ice, and it makes it a lot harder. That said, I do think that he will be strong for the Canucks this season. I expect him to do well on the power play, but I do think it's a bit of a challenge now, right? He's also playing on the top line. When you're playing on the top line, you play against other teams' best defenders, right? Whereas like Pedersen right now is playing on the second line, right? So you're not having the same quality of defense you're playing against, right? So I think with Besser, I'm at least 25 goals is what I'm thinking. I've seen people predicting him all the way up to 40. I'm gonna guess more like 25 or 30 for Besser.
Yeah, that sounds more likely to me too. I'd agree with you there. Another thing about Besser is this is what I heard. I heard he put on 15 pounds of muscle, and he's like way super lean and like buff. And Jake Virtanen apparently was calling him Brock Lesnar. So he worked really hard in the off season to build some more upper body strength and be kind of a bigger guy that can throw his weight around a bit more. But also just shows how committed he is to improving. And yeah, I just thought that was funny. Brock Lesnar.
But it could be a bit of a rookie mistake, right? Because other players have done that as well after their first year. They've gone and bulked up and got really strong, but they come back and they're slower, right? I don't know if it's really the biggest factor towards success
Yeah.
in today's
Right,
NHL, But Besser, yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing some pretty goals, but I think it'll take them some time to get their chemistry going. All right, who else? Players to watch this season. Goldobin. Goldobin is our player. We traded Yannick Hansen. We traded him to San Jose. We got Goldobin. He'd been in their AHL system for a while. The big knock on him was being inconsistent. That's going to be his challenge. I was happy he made the team this year. I was worried he might not make the roster. He's in a contract year, so it's a big deal for him. But I think he's the player to watch this year because he's playing with Pedersen, and what an opportunity that is. And they're showing some real chemistry together, some high-end offensive creativity. So Goldobin, and I think that's going to help him with his consistency because it's got to be exciting to play with someone like Pedersen, right? It's like that's motivating. You see someone on your line is like ripping it up. That is motivation. It's more of like a positive motivation than compared to like a healthy scratch is maybe not going to inspire you to play so much. So look for Goldobin to have a breakout year and maybe become part of our offense of the future.
Yeah, and just to quickly add something about Goldobin. The thing that I notice about him is he's just it seems like he has a knack for finishing. If he's in a good spot, there's a good chance he'll score. And Pedersen's just the type of guy to give him opportunities. And yeah, he doesn't try hard enough on defense yet, and even on offense, he's kind of like sort of sometimes it seems like he's like just waiting for someone
Like a
to give
cherry
him the
picker,
puck.
yeah.
Yeah, he's just waiting for someone to give him the puck. So hopefully Pedersen can light a fire under him and get him a little bit more excited to be in the NHL. You see him skating around after a goal. He's always just chewing on his mouth guard, like just a little pound. He doesn't never looks excited. He's just like looks like he's trying to. He's too cool or something. He's too cool for the NHL.
Oh, like, he's also Russian, right? So they're typically much more subdued and not as expressive as the North American players.
Right.
Um, so yeah, we'll see what happens with him. Virtanen, I think this is a big year for Virtanen. I think that he's been given a lot of opportunity. He really needs to prove himself, but he could be kind of player where he has that really elite speed is Virtanen has. He's one of our fastest players, hands down. He has that. But can he bring the consistency? Can he avoid taking stupid penalties? I really think he's on the bubble and he really needs to prove himself because I don't know if he's a player that will really excel very well in a bottom six role. I think if he's getting bigger minutes and playing well with like higher talent, he could be a really good power forward. But I kind of feel like he's kind of at the point where he could get passed up on the depth chart. He could be overtaken by some of our younger players. So he really needs to have a good season. I want to see at least 15 goals out of him. I want to see improvement. I think last year he had like 11, but he really needs to pick it up if he's going to earn some more minutes and show that he can be an everyday uh, NHL player because I don't know, he hasn't proven it yet.
I I I sort of disagree with you there. I mean, I kind of like him in a third line role or even a fourth line role. I like when he finishes his checks, and not every high draft pick's going to be a superstar. And I think there's room for a grinder, a Yannick Hansen type player in Virtanen is kind of what I see. Someone that can be an agitator, finishes checks, but then surprise you and score on a breakaway or just on a nice shot. Maybe this is kind of for me. I see maybe scenario where if Vertanen kind of changes his identity to be more like a Brendan Gallagher or or a Hanson or somebody like that, like a grinder type player, he might be a great third line player. I mean, if all the if all the young forwards on our team become top line players, we're not going to be able to afford them all.
It's true. I guess you make a good point that they can. High draft picks don't always have to be top players, but I just see his offensive ability, and especially with that elite speed, because the speed is such a valued thing in today's game. I really want see him have success, but he could be more of a grinder. But I think it's a bit of a wasted opportunity because he has that that offensive gifting, but I don't know if he's going to do it. So he's a player to watch this year because I think if he doesn't do much this season, we could see him. Maybe he'll be in the AHL next season.
But speed's still a threat on the third line, though.
Yeah, I mean if you can break it up and take things the other way. But I don't know. I just feel like he's been a disappointment so far, and I really want him to have a breakout season and show us at least hope that he could be a really good power forward because we don't have a lot of those players in our lineup. And our last player to watch, who's on the big league right now, although in the press box, Ben Hutton. So Ben Hutton. You remember when he first came into the league? When he was the first preseason.
Exciting.
He was like the Bobby Orr defenseman, going end to end, skating through the whole team.
Yeah,
and
you're right.
whatever happened to that Ben Hutton?
Big grin on his face. He's still got that, but
Yeah, but he was a healthy scratch a ton last
I
season.
really liked him at the start of the year. Yeah.
At least like 15 games, he was just up in the press box, not even on the bench. Because the coach felt like his conditioning wasn't good enough. He wasn't working hard enough. He's come back this season. He looks cut now. He's really put on a lot of muscle mass. But he started the first couple of games in the press box. So this is also a make or break year for Hutton as well. He's got to prove it this year. They gave him a contract. I think they kind of screwed up. They gave him too much money too soon. He's making almost $3 million, and then they were trying to trade him in the offseason, but nobody wanted his contract because he's way overpaid. So I think he got overconfident. So he's got to prove himself this year, and we really could use an offensive defenseman. We could use that, but so let's see the season. Will he actually get the coach's confidence and actually get a chance to play and prove himself? Ben Hutton, it's your turn to shine.
He's in the doghouse right now.
Oh yeah. Okay, other players to watch that are currently in the AHL. First one, Adam Gaudette. Out of all of the AHL players, I am most excited about this guy. I really liked him in the preseason. He's a big guy. Remember, he's not like a young rookie. He won the Hobie Baker Award for a top college player, which in the previous year was won by Brock Besser. So he's in good company there. And he's a big dude. He's filled into his man muscle. And he is very aggressive on the ice. I see him throwing his weight around. See him forechecking. I see creativity in his passing. And I think he's going to be a really strong player. He's a center as well, which is really valuable. I see him being a bit like a Ryan Kessler type of player, who's got offensive skill, but is also a really good defensive forward. He's the kind of guy I think I would love to see on our third or fourth line of the future, because I think he's got that good defensive play, but also the offensive ability to turn things around and could be a good source of depth scoring. So Adam Gaudette, someone to look forward to. I predict that when the Canucks get some injuries or players are not doing well, Adam Gaudette will be one of the first forwards to come up to the Canucks.
Yeah, I agree with you there. He's kind of the most, you know what you're going to get from him as far as I agree that he's a good call up to have. He can easily be slotted in third or fourth line center, and not be a liability. Some of the other players that didn't make the team in my opinion because there was uncertainty, whereas I think with Gaudette it was just there's lack of opportunity. There's players that were just there was just no room. Whereas other players, it was kind of like, okay, they're not ready, or we're not sure what kind of consistency we're going to get. But yeah, I'd like to see him get a few games this year and come up and watch for him to make the team next year.
For sure. Who else do you think from the AHL, who else are we going to see this season get called up when the inevitable injuries happen?
You've probably heard of Thatcher Demko. Supposed to be the next goalie for the Canucks. At least it seemed like that was their plan. He had a pretty bad preseason. It sucks to see. You feel bad for the guy. There's so much pressure on him, right? And it's hard to be a goalie. He's had so much success in the AHL, but every opportunity he's been given in the NHL seems to blow it. But I still hope that he gets a few games this year, because it's the right time to give him another shot, so watch for his name, and when he gets a start, watch closely, because he's either going to be our next goalie or he's not, and it seems like they're going to have a decision to make at some point what they're going to do about goaltending. So that's that Gaudette and Demko are the two main call-ups that I'm most intrigued about.
Yeah, I want to see Demko get a stretch of games this year. Our current backup, Nielsen, his contract expires at the end of the year. I don't think we're bringing him back. I think Demko is our backup next season. So I wanted to see get some chance to play some games, because he's been consistently ranked as one of the best goaltending prospects in the league for the last few years. He's always in like the top three, like the goalies of the future. So he's really widely respected at different challenge at the NHL level, right? A lot more elite scorers. So I want him to get some practice, and so probably later this season, we'll see Demko. Other guy on the NHL, who we may see this season, Ole Ulevi. He was our number 5 pick from a few years ago. Probably Jim Benning's most disappointing draft so far was picking Ulevi over Kachuk. This was the year he was supposed to show he's finally ready. It's been like 3 training camps of Ulevi showing up and being like, okay, where is this high-end defensive prospect? Because even in that draft, there was other defensemen who got picked later who were doing way better. That Charlie McAvoy, he was taken like 15th or 16th by Boston in that year, and he's on their top pairing.
Yeah,
he plays with Chara.
That's
yeah,
right.
And he's so. And Kachuk is already assistant captain of the Flames. So, like, people in his draft class are already, like, settling into their NHL careers. He can't even make the lineup, man. He just seemed, like, not even that interested. He doesn't even really seem that good. Like, I think we'll probably see him this year because of injury, but I don't know. I haven't seen progression from him, right? I'm willing to be patient with the young guys, but I haven't even seen progression. I'm starting to think that Ulevi is a bust as a draft pick, and maybe he'll just be a AHLer for life. But we might see him this season.
Maybe all he needs is a shot, though. Maybe it's a confidence thing.
Could be.
Give him a shot and see what happens.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to do that with a 5th overall pick, don't you?
Yeah.
At some point.
At some point, yeah. It's just, how long is it going to take? And we'll talk about this later after we do have a lot of defensemen leaving after the season, so that also could be, he might have more opportunity in the future. Last person to watch out for from the AHL, Jonathan Dahlen. So this is the center we got from Ottawa in exchange for Burrows. Senators fans were pissed when this happened. They were considered one of their better prospects. And he showed some flashes of brilliance in the preseason, was not really consistent enough. He's still a pretty small guy. The reason I'm excited about him is just because in juniors, he played with Pettersson a lot, and they had amazing chemistry together. So, although Pettersson's playing well with Goldobin right now, in the future, we may see those two as a Swedish duo. So, Jonathan Dahlen's another player to watch, and good chance of making the team next season.